Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I just wanted to do a quick update here on the WRX. I'm about to jump into some work, but it's probably gonna be a couple weeks before it gets finalized, uploaded. I got some other things I'm working on uploading right now, so that's gonna be a little bit. And for those of you that have subscribed because you're interested in the work that was going on with the WRX, I haven't forgot about the car. It's been bugging me probably just as much as it's been bugging you. I really want to get it out on the road, but there's just been a few projects that have been a little bit tedious, so I've been putting off. I've also had some other things going on, but I need to get into that work done. I really want to drive this car, so let me show you where I'm at with the car and then let you know where I'm going, at least as far as today's work, just to give you an update on where the car's at. So you will have remembered in the last episode of the work that we did here on the WRX, we were finalizing everything with the air ride, but my momentary switch had failed. The momentary switch is all installed now. It works perfectly good. I've tested it out. The only thing now is I think I want to go ahead and replace this switch. I installed this years ago. This is just to go into test mode when you're updating new maps to the ECU with the access port. But you can see I didn't really do a very good job with it. You can see that hole there on the side, and I want to try to find something that matches this here, a little round toggle switch or something. But I'll get that sorted out down the road. And also I had like 90% finished this trunk piece here in the rear, but I wasn't 100% happy with it. But I went ahead and I got that all sort of finalized now. It's a little hard to do with one hand. So I went ahead and got it all set up just like the factory one is. I transferred over the foam padding to keep it stable, transferred over the little alignment pegs so it stays exactly where it's meant to be, and then we mounted the spare tire jack up underneath the end there. I do still run the spare tire, although I may be running to a full-size spare in the future. I really don't know. Right now I've got plenty of room to hold with the jack and the spare tire back there, so why not added that back on there. And then also added two little L brackets I just had laying around. They're not the nicest looking, but you don't see them anyway. And that just holds it up even with the piece that holds all of the air ride equipment. So really the only changes I think I'm gonna make to that is the day that I went ahead and laid the glue down to glue this fabric to the board, it was a little bit cold out, and this newer fabric I bought, you'll have seen that I mentioned in a previous episode, even though this is what they sell now for the trunk carpet for these models, it doesn't match the trunk carpet that it came with. Not perfectly anyway, but the backing also is kind of stiff, and so it didn't glue down real well. So it needs to be re-glued. I'm not in a big hurry because I am keeping my eye on eBay to see if I can get one that's actually a factory match here. It'll look a lot better. The only one right now that I saw on eBay is all stained with oil, and to the point where I don't even know if I could get it clean scrubbing away at it. So not interested in that one. Hopefully one might pop up here because I would like these two to match. And then the other project we moved on to was the window tint. You'll remember earlier on a few episodes ago I mentioned that we removed the side tints because they were purple and faded. I left the rear tints just because that is still allowable where I live, but I was never happy with it. It was just really old. It had turned slightly purple, and for some reason, I don't know if this is common with really old tint or not, but it was kind of like looking through like stained glass. It was like wavy and foggy. You really couldn't make out what was behind you. Like I could tell a car was behind me, but I couldn't tell you what type of car it was. I might be able to tell you what color it was, but it was really difficult to see through. So I ordered up some pre-cuts from Lexan, and that process didn't go so well. I knew the rear was going to be a pain. I tried rear tint years and years ago on my first car that I started working on, and that was an absolute nightmare. Since then I've upgraded some tools. I have a lot better tools to work with, and I watched a lot of videos. This one was my fourth attempt. The first attempt, my heat gun broke. It kind of fried itself, but I've been using that for 10 plus years now, so I'm not surprised there. So that was only maybe 2/3 heat formed to the back window here. So that was basically ruined there on that piece. Ordered a second piece, Ended up creasing that pretty badly in a few spots. I did go ahead and put on the inside, but the creases really kind of bothered me. So pulled that back off. Third attempt went pretty well until I went to go peel the tint and put it on the inside, and I realized I had it the wrong way on the glass. So the adhesive was facing the wrong way, which means it was heat formed the wrong way. So I had to throw that out. And then the fourth attempt's on there. I'm honestly pretty happy with the way it came out. I definitely have a new appreciation of people that do window tints for a living. There are a few imperfections in it. There's one little air bubble here that no matter what I did, just would not come out. There was a tiny crease that I put in it here, and so you can see the air kind of came in along that crease from the side. Not super crazy noticeable. For whatever reason, this corner down here, I didn't crease it or anything, but you can see it just didn't want to lay down flat. And I tried several different methods. I threw some heat at it. It just didn't want to cooperate. But again, not too terrible there. I ended up getting a hair trapped between it right here on this corner, and it was just such a tough corner to try to get your finger into to peel it up, maybe pull that hair out of there. I didn't want to get anything else underneath there or ruin it, because everything else around here is fine, and I thought I was just going to make the whole situation worse, so I just left the hair. And then I did get one crease by accident right here. You can see that crease, but overall, just those few spots, that's really it. There's no air bubbles, there's really nothing going on. It came out really well for having only done, this is the second windshield I've ever attempted. Like I said, it did take me 4 attempts with the pre-cuts, but I'm pretty happy with how the rear window came out. The side windows, not so well, and I did side windows before. Years and years ago I did side windows, and that was a breeze. I didn't have any problems. As far as pre-cuts go, the pre-cuts were fine, they went on, but if I get you at the right angle, see there on the right hand side, you can see all that speckling. And I'm pretty sure what that was is I had ordered these pre-tints a while ago, and they kind of sat over in the corner of the shop, and I had been doing a lot of grinding and just all sorts of stuff out here in the shop, and they had a lot of dust on them. So I think when I peeled the backing off, it kind of created static, and that dust got underneath there and it stuck, and then it didn't come out with the soapy water. So for now, I'm just gonna leave these. I didn't do the fronts. Again, I'm not gonna get all into laws and everything where I live, but for a passenger vehicle like this, you really can't have any tint on the side windows for the most part. There is an allowable tint, but that allowable tint is basically nothing. You're pretty much wasting your money if you go with that level of tint on your windows. So I was like, well, I'll throw the rear windows on, and that'll probably get me less hassle, less chance of getting pulled over. But now I really don't like the look of just the darker back windows and the non-tinted front windows. Unfortunately, when I made my decision that this was good enough, I threw away the front window. So what I think I'm probably gonna do is just order a whole new set, probably leave the back window. I'm happy enough with that back window. It's enough of a pain in the butt where I just don't wanna do it again. But the side windows, I'll order up some new ones, and I'll probably do all of them, try to stay as clean as I can to avoid getting that dust underneath there. And I think as long as I don't leave these on for too terribly long, that adhesive won't have time to really get to the point where it's a nightmare to take off like that 20-year-old tint was. I'm crossing my fingers that that means it'll be nice and easy to get off of there. And then sort of the just pain in my neck that will not go away on this car, and I guess something I just shouldn't have messed with because nothing was really wrong. I just wanted to run different pulleys, which meant a different power steering pump, which meant, hey, while I'm at it, might as well do braided lines and throw in a different reservoir. I'm still getting air in the lines. My next course of action, I think it may be the fittings on this Chase Bay reservoir at the bottom, because I did take those off to paint this. I can't remember if it was an O-ring seal or if it was like a Loctite type thread sealant on there. I know at one point I took a rag, like a white rag, when I was dealing with that issue last year, and I wiped the edge of those fittings where they meet the bottle, and I did get some red from the ATF power steering fluid. I tightened those up. I haven't gotten much since, but one thing about power steering systems is they're very good at drawing air in through a leak and not allowing fluid out if the leak is very, very small. Just to let you know what happened when we were installing the airbags and everything, especially in the front end, I actuated the steering side to side to make sure I didn't have any binding or clearance issue with the leader lines. Next thing you know, I looked under the front end and I had a big puddle of ATF. So I knew towards the end of last year, I was starting to hear a little bit more whining from the power steering on cold starts, which based on what I already knew from the problem was an indication that some air was getting pulled into the system. So really all I think that happened, I don't think that while it sat, somehow it pulled more air in. What I think happened is the last time I parked it, that fluid was all really very aerated with all those little tiny bubbles. And then it sat and it sat and it sat while I was working on it. And then all those little tiny bubbles collected into a big bubble somewhere down in the power steering system. So when I actuated the steering, the air bubble really has nowhere to go but out, and it has to, everything in its way has to move. And so it pushed up all of the power steering fluid that was in its way, and then it overflowed from the reservoir. So I don't think it's a new issue. I don't think it was drawing in air while it was sitting. I think it was just the result of what I already knew was happening last year. So I've already spilt more than enough ATF for one car down here in this area dealing with this system. I'm probably just going to let it ride for this year. As long as it doesn't get too terribly whiny, I'll just top off with whatever spilled out, and I'll deal with that another time. I'll pull that reservoir out of there and I'll check those fittings. If that doesn't solve it, I think what I'm going to end up doing is, instead of just running the braided lines, you really can't see it, but I'm just going to give you an idea of the general area. Instead of running the braided lines down here to where they connect to the factory hard lines and then it goes down to the power steering rack, I'll probably just get some AN couplers and then just run stainless line all the way down and over to the steering rack. Of course, that means I've got to dig up really old forum threads that I don't even know if I could find anymore. It's going to take a lot of searching on the internet, because then now I need to know the exact fittings that I need to go into the steering rack. That's a problem I'm not dealing with for this year. That can wait. So really all that's going to be left on this is what I'm getting ready to do today, and that's going to be rolling the fenders. They're close to the lip in the rear. I don't think it would be a problem. I haven't really looked at steering lock in terms of like rolling and whether it's going to catch the fender. But like I said, this is going to be the last year for this wheel and tire setup. I'm going with something just slightly more aggressive, nothing too crazy, but something a little bit more aggressive, and I am going to need to roll the fenders for that. So we're going to just knock that out, get that out of the way now, so I won't have any issues this year, and then it'll already be done for next year. So once the fenders are rolled, that means we can throw the fender liners in that have just been sitting over here taking up space and getting dirty. Those can go back in. As far as the fender liners, that's going to eliminate the spot that they clip, because they clip right to that edge. I'm just going to kind of go with the flow. I'm going to see how badly they flop and or touch the tire. If they're going to be fine left alone, I'll probably just leave them alone until this winter when it's off the road and I have more time to look at it and work on it. If not, I'll probably just find some sort of quick and dirty fix, maybe just some stick-on zip tie mounts and just put a hole in the liner and then zip tie it up so it doesn't contact. I'm really not sure, but won't know that until we dive into it. So be on the lookout for that episode. And then after that, the only thing I'm going to do, I was going to just bring it in for an alignment, which I never like doing with cars like this, because I'm just kind of picky and I don't like other people touching my cars, and especially around here, you really can't get in for an alignment without an appointment. There's very few places that'll just be like, hey, yeah, if you drive in, hey, we can take care of it right now. So you need an appointment, which means dropping the car off usually, and I don't know, I just didn't want to do it. And so now the more and more I'm looking at it, I think I'm just going to do a DIY string alignment on this. I don't even think I'm going to bother getting toe plates. I know that toe plates sort of make it easier, but I'm just going to run a string box and probably just do a rough string alignment. And if I'm happy with that, I'll leave it. If I'm not happy with it, maybe I'll get some toe plates and do something a little bit more precise. And if I'm not happy with that, then I'll suck it up and I'll just make an appointment and bring it somewhere for an alignment. But I kind of just want to avoid bringing it somewhere because, like I said, I'm picky. I don't like leaving my cars with other people. So that's going to about do it for this year until we get it on the road. Obviously, it needs some fluids changed, new oil, new gear fluid. I actually never even changed out what was supposed to be temporary gear fluid last year. It's still sitting here, the stuff that was meant to go in it. So we'll throw that in this year, oil change, and then we'll get it on the road because the weather's been really, really nice and I've been really frustrated not being able to drive this thing. So So I'll make this quick because my battery's about to die. I hope you enjoyed the update. Be on the lookout for the work I'm going to be doing today. And as always, if you're not subscribed and you're finding this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the like button if you like this video. I know it was mainly just me talking and probably pretty boring, but hit the like button and feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks.